Flooding prompts an evacuation at Sunset Beach.
Residents who live in this neighborhood say this is happening all too often, and they want it to stop.
And a showdown with public employee unions in Wisconsin. Good evening. The flood advisory continues tonight here in western New York as ice jams fill the creeks and streams of our region. And the ice jams on Cazenovia Creek prompted the closing of the Stevenson Street Bridge in South Buffalo earlier today. News 4's George Rickert brings us the latest tonight from Sunset Bay in Cattaraugus County.
At Sunset Bay in northern Chautauqua County, the alarm sounded just before 6 p.m.
Not a mandatory evacuation, but a strongly advised evacuation. But what we have going on is the last ice jam that came down the creek is stuck basically where the break wall meets Lake Erie.
All the snow melt from 3 days of above freezing temperatures in the towns along Cattaraugus Creek ends up dumping into Lake Erie at Sunset Bay. So any ice jam here spills onto the streets.
Right now it's not too bad. I don't know how clogged up the creek is, but if it's pretty clogged up, it can get pretty bad, definitely.
Yeah. There are about 600 homes here in Sunset Bay, but this time of year, less than 100 of them are occupied. Those who do stay through the winter are used to this kind of thing.
If you live down here, you're pretty much accustomed to this.
Do you think you'll have to evacuate?
I usually keep my family here till it gets to the bottom of my steps, and then we leave.
And at this point, only his fence was underwater.
There's also been, with the wind, a couple down power lines that's mixed with the water. Bad combination, so we're trying to keep people either out of the area or to stay put.
We tend to look out for each other down here. Everybody works pretty close who lives down here year-round with the fire department in the town, and everything will be all right. I don't think we'll have anybody hurt. We may have some property damage, but like I said before, we're pretty much accustomed to that.
Now that ice jam is still in place and the water is now getting closer to entering the Sunset Bay Fire Hall. But they say this is still not as bad as the flood in August of 2009. George Rickert for the 10 o'clock news.
And of course, that was Chautauqua County. Now, News 4 meteorologist Don Paul joins us now with the latest flood outlook. Don?
Well, Jackie, the situation is actually worsening a little bit tonight, not just at Sunset Bay, but it may be worsening in the Buffalo area as well because the runoff rate has slowed down. More on that in just a few seconds. But the wind advisory continues right through tomorrow, and we may have some gusts after midnight reaching 50 miles an hour. Those strong winds are going to be pushing on the unstable ice at the mouth of the Cattaraugus Creek at Sunset Bay and may put pressure on the ice back into that bay. So the flood advisories have been extended now until 6:15 for the Buffalo area creeks in the morning rather than right now when the original expiration time was coming up, and until 10 o'clock in the morning for Sunset Bay, and that's minimal. Now, because the runoff rate has dropped off, there is no push to flush any of these ice jams out. They're likely to stay in place at least into the morning. I'll be back in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Don. Well, the Genesee County Sheriff is searching for a missing 73-year-old maple farmer in the town of Alexander tonight. Authorities found his ATV in the high waters of Murder Creek near a stand of trees that he had been checking for sap. Police are asking for your help in locating a missing teenager from Albion. 16-year-old Catherine Sanchez was last seen January 14th on East State Street in the village of Albion. If you've seen her, Albion police ask you to give them a call at 585-589-5627. You can also find this number on WIVB.com. Depew police have arrested a registered sex offender accused of coming here from Watkins Glen to have sex with an underage girl he met online. 35-year-old John Clem is charged with attempted rape, disseminating indecent material to a minor, and child endangerment. A state Supreme Court jury has convicted a town of Tonawanda man in the bludgeoning murder of his elderly mother. 56-year-old David Heck killed his 87-year-old mother, Ruth Heck, at their Conant Drive home on Christmas Eve 2 years ago. He faces sentencing next month. 2 boys were injured while riding an ATV in Buffalo's Black Rock section tonight. News 4's Tricia Cruz has the story.
Flashing lights are nothing new in this Black Rock neighborhood of Buffalo.
There's always accidents on each corner around here. We need like 4 stop signs on each corner.
Darlene Russell blames the number of accidents on a lack of stop signs. She's lived here for nearly 20 years. Others say careless children are the reason.
I see kids riding bikes up and down the street all the time, and I have little kids too, and I'm trying to teach them the dangers about that. You know, it's just ridiculous what they do.
When you say bikes, you mean like little...
Dirt bikes, motorcycles, I mean, no helmets.
This accident happened at about 6:30 Friday evening. A 12-year-old boy and a 14-year-old were taken to the hospital after the ATV they were on collided with this car. The driver of the car was questioned by police at the scene. The driver's aunt tells me she's 24 years old and a good kid who doesn't get into trouble. Regardless of who's to blame for this accident, safety is a constant concern for residents who live here.
When I go walk around, I see the cars. They don't stop on one side, and they do on one side.
Well, we had a couple car crashes the other day just right up the street here, same block.
Jerry, who did not want to give us his last name, makes sure he knows where his children are at all times.
Oh, yeah, my kids are always with me, always with me.
Buffalo police tell us the cause of the accident does remain under investigation, but it does appear the female driver had the right of way. She was not injured, and the 2 boys are expected to be okay. Live, Tricia Cruz for the 10 o'clock news.
A Buffalo pedestrian remains in serious condition after a hit-and-run accident in South Buffalo. 59-year-old Anna Grady was struck while crossing Seneca Street last evening. Police have interviewed a 68-year-old woman who left the scene after the accident, but no charges have been filed yet. A Buffalo debt collector owes a debt to society for using illegal tactics. Stephanie Lowinger has pleaded guilty to a charge of scheme to defraud in connection with the operation of a collection agency on Great Arrow here in Buffalo. She's permanently banned from any future collection activities in New York State. Well, she was fired twice for stealing from the Niagara Falls City Clerk's office, and now a city judge has given Tina Pugh a conditional discharge on her petty larceny plea. Pugh will put in 30 days of community service with the Niagara County Sheriff's Office under terms of her sentence. Some hard fiscal realities are hitting Wisconsin, where teachers are boycotting classes and Democratic lawmakers are boycotting the state capitol to block a budget that removes some collective bargaining rights for public employees. We have the latest now from CBS's Manuel Gallegos.
Their protests echo through Wisconsin's Capitol Dome and roar across the grounds outside. Thousands of state workers, teachers, prison guards, and labor leaders are in their 4th day of a showdown, urging Wisconsin's Republican lawmakers to kill a proposed bill that would strip collective bargaining rights from state employees.
It's my feeling that this is all about union busting.
Faced with a $3.6 billion deficit, Wisconsin's newly elected Republican governor, Scott Walker, also wants state workers to pay half the cost of their pensions and a bigger share of their health benefits.
Wisconsin has a $3.6 billion deficit that we face going into the next biennium. We're broke.
Republicans say they already have enough votes to pass the bill, but legally one more lawmaker must be present to hold a vote, and all the Democrats have gone into hiding. State troopers were dispatched to the home of Democratic leader Mark Miller to escort him to the State House, but there was no answer. So now a stalemate with thousands at the State House door, including students and teachers who flocked to the Capitol, shutting down schools for another day.
It's not because of the dollar amount we receive, it's because our heart is in it, and that's why we're here again today.
And the rest of the country is watching closely, especially other states with big deficits and Republican governors, wondering whether a similar battle is coming their way. Manuel Gallegos, CBS News, Madison, Wisconsin.
And in Washington, the GOP-controlled House is wrapping up debate on a spending bill that cuts some $60 billion from a wide swath of federal programs over the next 6 months. President Obama's health care program was defunded, along with the EPA's new global warming regulations. The president vows to veto the GOP cuts, which means a government shutdown if a compromise isn't reached before March 4th. Coming up, more turmoil in the Middle East as crowds clamor for freedom. And former Mideast captive Terry Anderson talks about peace and freedom in his hometown of Batavia.
dark meat or white meat?
That's a personal question.
Next DMZ, Kobe's All-Star Party is so exclusive, there's a screening process.
Who's interviewing, Vanessa?
Nope, not his wife.
TV to talk about, Friday at 10:30 p.m.
Want a free checking account?
A rising tide of protest is sweeping the Middle East. In Bahrain, security forces fired tear gas at protesters in Pearl Square. Anti-government protesters also clashed with riot police in Yemen. The Muslim Brotherhood marched today in Amman, Jordan, demanding democratic reforms. And crowds gathered in Cairo to mark the fall of Hosni Mubarak 1 week ago. Well, he was held hostage for years in Lebanon some 2 decades ago. And now, News 4's Michelle McClintock reports former AP Middle East correspondent Terry Anderson is bringing a message of peace and freedom to his hometown of Batavia.
It's hard to believe it was over 25 years ago that Terry Anderson was captured in Lebanon. In 1985, Western New Yorkers became very familiar with his story because Anderson is originally from Batavia. His sister Peggy Say worked tirelessly for 6.5 years to free her brother from the hands of Hezbollah Shiite militants.
I've been very close to being released several times over the past 2 years.
The former Mideast correspondent for the AP was held captive for 7 years in the Middle East. Anderson says the current turmoil in the region is evidence that people there are yearning for freedom.
I think it is particularly poignant right at the moment after we watched 85 million Egyptians stand up in peace to claim their freedom.
Anderson is on the committee to protect journalists, an organization that monitors attacks on the press. Ironically, Laura Logan is on the board of directors. She's the CBS News correspondent who was brutally attacked last week in Cairo.
They burned Al Jazeera's office. They confiscated their equipment. They beat and arrested journalists. Why? Because they knew as long as those journalists were free and telling the story, that people were going to win.
Anderson says he doesn't miss reporting. He says he has a greater mission now to promote peace. That's why he's back here in Batavia. A new peace garden will be planted here to commemorate the bicentennial of the War of 1812. And as he looks back to the Middle East, Anderson says he's hopeful for peace in a region so badly in need of freedom. Michelle McClintock for the 10 o'clock news.
Well, Don Paul has the latest on the ice jams just ahead. And we're not alone in facing these problems.
Meet the 9 couples competing to lose weight. Oh my God. And the couple that loses the most will win the wedding of their dreams.
We want to have a big Final Fantasy wedding.
It is a beach-themed wedding.
My maid of honor's dress is biodegradable.
My butt is too big.
This is my man boobs. They're not invited to the wedding.
From the executive producer of The Biggest Loser.
If we don't win this, we probably don't have a wedding.
Setting for the wedding.
Premiering Wednesday, February 23rd after the premiere of Top Model on CW23 WNLO.
A reminder that open auditions for America's Next Top Model are tomorrow in front of the Dress Barn at the Fashion Outlets of Niagara Falls. The audition application is available at CW23.com and WIVB.com. We're not alone when it comes to midwinter ice jams. Now, this is the Raccoon River in Des Moines, Iowa, where a fast snowmelt has brought some flash flooding. This ice jam was expected to break up tonight, sending a surge from the Raccoon to the Des Moines River. So these problems are everywhere, and it sounds like the problems around here, Don, are getting worse instead of better.
Yeah, they are getting a little worse. By the way, the upper Midwest, places like Des Moines, but especially North Dakota, this early spring, it's now anticipated by the river forecast centers in that part of the country that they're going to have some devastating floods with a huge snowpack in place. And as temperatures moderate, their situation, of course, is going to totally eclipse what we have. But we do have our problems. The runoff, which was moving along rapidly during the so-called heat of the day, is now slowing down, and that means there is less water pushing up against the ice jams to flush them out. So they are almost certain to stay in place in Sunset Bay, and there's a pretty decent chance that the ice jams on the Buffalo area creeks aren't going to be moving much overnight. And of course, while the waters are not running quickly, it will take a while for waters to rise, but they are rising. And here comes the second batch of the colder air, accompanied by some mixed snow and rain showers on the north shore of Lake Ontario, turning back to all snow as the cold air deepens. This will be getting in here after midnight, and by morning, combined with the strong winds, there will be some blowing snow problems. By the way, the State College National Weather Service has issued a full high wind warning for our Pennsylvania viewing area from 5 a.m. through the day tomorrow. That is somewhat more serious than a wind advisory. They're anticipating some gusts up to 60. We have a shot at getting some gusts up to 50 beginning around 1 a.m. or so, and that could bring down a few tree limbs and power lines. You already heard a couple did come down around Sunset Bay. Well, the temperatures here are still not terribly cold, but once you get behind that second boundary where the real cold air begins, you can see they are dropping off rapidly, and we are in for a return to winter in a couple of different ways this weekend. 38 degrees at 10 o'clock. The average wind speed at the airport is 22 miles an hour, and we check out the gusts in the last few minutes. 43 miles an hour at Niagara Falls, 31 at the airport, 39 Jamestown, and a 53-mile-an-hour gust up at Toronto. Today's highs 54. We shan't see that again next week, at least. Here are the average wind speeds. A steady 40-mile-an-hour wind in Toronto. That is pretty ferocious. That is high winds. And as we get into the colder air by morning, the snow will pick up a little bit. The amounts on the ground aren't going to be all that impressive, but with strong winds, we could have some whiteouts during the morning, and then conditions will gradually improve in the afternoon as this surge of Arctic air is on its way. And then we have a storm system at the end of the weekend that could mess things up quite a bit Sunday night into Monday morning. Let's take a look at Super Microcast. Already has snow showers developing by about 1 a.m., and we will have just enough for some blowing snow by dawn and some squally snow in the morning, where there again could be some whiteouts. Considerable improvement in the afternoon, and most of Sunday will be fine. But at the end of the day, snow will be moving in. It may turn to sleet Sunday night and make for quite a mess. Here's your Weather Watch forecast. Strong winds and colder. Snow showers developing after midnight. Limited blowing snow by dawn. We dropped to 22 to 26. A few peak gusts could reach 50. For tomorrow, more of that in the morning with squally snow showers and brief whiteouts possible. Winds diminishing somewhat in the afternoon, and the snow really lets up in the afternoon too. Tomorrow night, cold and relatively tranquil. Sunday, a decent day until the end of it. Light snow arriving late in the day. Snow increases in the evening. It may turn to sleet. And if it doesn't, we're going to get a pretty good shot of snow. Any mixture turns back to snow on Monday.
Hard to go back to all that, though, Don. Thank you.
We're going to have to. Yeah.
Coming up, we're just days away from a new era of Sabres hockey. A new owner is poised to take over. And the way the Sabres have played this week, he can't get here soon enough. John Murphy is next with sports.
Weather Watch 4, sponsored by Northeast Mechanical.
I'm Jeffrey Friedman. For over 30 years, my law firm has won thousands of Social Security disability claims. If a physical or mental condition make it impossible for you to work, call today. We'll help get all the benefits and money you deserve.
Next DMZ, Kobe's All-Star Party is so exclusive, there's a screening process.
Who's interviewing, Vanessa?
Nope, not his wife.
Friday at 10:30 p.m.
What are you looking for from your Nissan dealer? No nonsense price? When you come to Capolino's, we'll give you the straightforward approach and the price you're looking for.
Work out and lease a 2011 Nissan Sentra 2.0S for just $99 a month, or 2011 Rogue S for $179 a month. Only at Capolino Niagara Nissan.
Work it out at Capolino's or capolino.net.
We can work it out.
Attention, ladies, gentlemen, and kids. Start your engines at the Epic Fun Center. Fast forward to the future and enjoy the speed and acceleration of the Epic Fun Center's state-of-the-art electric go-karts, slot car racing, sports, video games, and they do birthday parties.
I want my party X. I want my party X. I want my party X. Epic Fun Center.
Call 565-EPIC for details. The Epic Fun Center. It's where your friends have fun.
Get to Nissan now for holiday bonus cash on almost every Nissan. This is Nissan Now. Get extra savings through Monday on sedans, trucks and SUVs, crossovers, $500 bonus cash on top of all other offers, plus 0% on most Nissans. Visit ChooseNissan.com or see your local Nissan dealer today. Bonus cash ends Monday. Get in now.
I'm Jeffrey Friedman. If you've been injured, my law firm can help. We've won millions of dollars for our clients, and we'll do our best to do the same for you.
Call Jeffrey Friedman Attorneys today at 1-800-343-8537.
Now, News 4 continues with the latest in sports.
Doesn't make a lot of sense how flat the Buffalo Sabres are right now. They're fighting for a playoff spot. They're home. They've got a new owner days away from taking over. How can they play the way they played the last couple of games? They got steady defenseman Steve Monador back in the lineup tonight against the St. Louis Blues. He missed 5 games. Scoring chances, very scarce for Buffalo. Tim Conley has one there, and he is stopped by Ty Conklin. No score second period. St. Louis with a nice give and go. T.J. Oshie knocks in the rebound, and it's 1-0 Blues on top. St. Louis power play late in the first. Big blast here from David Backus. He scores, and it's 2-0 Blues after 2 periods of play. Third period, Pat Galetta trying to generate some energy, puts a big hit on Carlo Koliakovo, jams him into the boards. The Blues don't like it. They take offense, and it appeared for a moment or two the Sabres might have some energy, but they still could not score. They pulled a goalie, 1:15 left. The Blues come up with the puck, and it's Vladimir Sobotka who scores the empty netter. Sabres very frustrated today. Ty Conklin with 25 saves in the shutout. Blues win it 3-0. Sabres 0-2 on their homestand so far. Home again Sunday afternoon against Washington. The Sabres' new owner is poised to take over next Tuesday. The NHL Board of Governors reportedly has approved the sale of the team to Pennsylvania billionaire Terry Pegula. 23 votes, 3/4 of the league's governors were needed for approval. The Sabres expected to finalize the deal in 3 days. Well, at least they're talking, the two sides in the NFL labor dispute. They met with a federal mediator in Washington for about 6 hours today to get the negotiations going. The owner's ready to lock out the players in 2 weeks. And former Bills great Andre Reed was in town today, promoting his new cooking sauce, Over the Middle. Reed will donate a portion of the proceeds from the sale of the sauce to Renaissance Center in West Seneca, which helps teenagers battling drug addiction. I wonder how much he went into the development of the sauce, you know?
I don't know.
The recipe.
Cooking sauce.
Cooking
Love it.
sauce,
Thanks,
yes.
John. Well, the lottery numbers are just ahead, but first, here's tonight's 10 o'clock tidbit.
Scores for You, sponsored by Geico.
Criminals, what they never understand is that the numbers are stacked against them.
Saturday at 11:30 on CW23.
You get to work, brother.
Jerry, weren't you taking him out last night to fire him?
Well, we went to Fridays, and I couldn't just break the news.
Headed to the doctor.
Get carried away with Friday's Fusion Skewers, starting at only $6.99. In here, it's always Friday.
Did you know?
Winning numbers 723-4108. Pamplona, Spain has the running of the bulls, and Manhattan has the running of the brides. Hundreds of wedding-bound women woke up at the crack of dawn for this annual sale at Filene's Basement. Gowns originally priced at $10,000 were marked as low as $249. And with bargains like that, it is bystanders beware. We want to thank you for watching the 10 o'clock news here on CW23. News 4 is keeping you connected around the clock on WIVB.com. Don Postles and I will see you again on News 4 at 11. Good night.